The market has been a little inactive recently with new retro handhelds, but one company that keeps innovating in the space is Go Retroid, and this here is their new Retroid Pocket 2S, which is an upgraded version of their old Retroid Pocket 2 here, which we'll do some comparisons with in a minute. This one is a little more powerful and has a few visual upgrades that are very welcome. I have the sleek black version here, a little look at the back, and you get a cable, and the packaging's pretty simple and sleek as well. But this one here has turned out to be my favorite retro handheld under $99 this year so far. It's impressed me in many ways, and I want to tell you why. So here we have the Retroid Pocket 2, which released a couple of years ago, and the upgraded 2S here. This comes in two different variations, the 3GB for $99 or the 4GB RAM version for $119. Just go for the 4GB one, you get 128GB of storage as well. That extra $20 goes a long way, trust me. So that's the one I've gone for here. And in terms of visuals, there's a lot of nice upgrades. First of all, you will notice that on the 2, I complained about the analog slider here. It doesn't stick out, admittedly it doesn't snag on your pockets, but just in general, not a good analog stick. They have now upgraded to full whole joysticks here, which are a very welcome upgrade. Feel much better, they're gonna last longer, and they're just far more durable. They've also switched the D-pad and analog stick location, as you can see here. I know a lot of you did complain about that on the 2. For me personally, I'm not really bothered, but what they have done is they've actually made and upgraded the analog stick to a PS Vita-like design with a hell of a lot of travel. So for those of you that like playing fighting games, this is gonna do just fine. It is a little smaller, but it's just a nice nostalgic nod to the PS Vita, which I highly respect. Up top as well, you now have start and select buttons, which on the older version, you do not. Again, a nice warm welcome, and you've got your standard chin here with the front speakers and the 3 menu, back and home buttons, which are nicely placed. So in terms of design, like, it is a visually pleasing handheld. And at first I was like, you know what? They haven't innovated here. They're going back to their old roots. They're trying to get a little bit more money with as little work as they can. But actually, there is a wide number of changes here, which makes the upgrade worth it, in my opinion. Another great addition is that they have actually added analog shoulder buttons here, which have far more travel to them. And it gives the overall experience of using this handheld much more movement and much more enjoyability, if that's even a word. So you've got your analog shoulders here, which, you know, they are slightly different, but on the 2, there's not a lot of travel. And the same goes for the action buttons as well. I don't know if you can see it in shot. Far more travel. There's no dome switches underneath it and has a much more nostalgic kind of Game Boy feel. Whereas the 2, there's very little travel to them. But admittedly, you can press these a lot faster. So for me, that is a lot of physical upgrades that are very, very welcome and transform this device into a worthy upgrade if you've got one of the old 2s. On the back, there's not much. The shell is slightly different because it had to make room for the new shoulder buttons. You know, it is a good looking handheld, and everything is placed perfectly for my hands. I've got quite large hands, so for anyone with, you know, big ass adult hands, this is perfectly fine. And actually, it is very, very comfortable in my hand. Now, the only downer I have with the face is the screen. These bezels are huge. It's 2023, we shouldn't be having bezels. And I know the screen is exactly the same as the old 2, fair enough. It's a touchscreen display, 640 by 480, gets the job done, and it's okay. The brightness is okay. You know, they don't really need to upgrade it because, you know, the 4:3 ratio is all you need for what this can emulate, but I just don't want bezels on a device in 2023. And these are some pretty hefty bezels. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Do you like the bezels? Do you not? Drop a comment below. And as you can see, it's running the classic Retroid launcher through Android 11. So for those of you that are big into your Android handhelds, which are coming out more and more recently, you can actually use full-blown Android operating system on here to load your Android games. And if you want, you can go into Xbox Game Pass and do all your streaming, but I don't advise that. The screen is just too small. So I just like to use this casually with the Play Store with a couple of Android games, and then load up the Retroid Pocket launcher, which kind of looks like a Switch, and then I've got all of my games ready to go in a beautiful library. And with any Go Retroid Pocket, the setup process is incredibly simple. There's like 10 steps that they take you through, and you're ready to go. And all you need to do is install your ROM. So it's a beautiful setup process, and you know, all of your box art are just there waiting in a Switch format, and it's easy to get to all of your games. So all of that packaged into a $99 handheld that's easy to set up makes this really good for a gift to someone that's new in the retro gaming space. But Brandon, talk to me about specs. This is running a T610 CPU. It has 3 to 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is a $20 difference. You can use the 3.5-inch touchscreen display, which has 60 FPS, which is quite nice. It has 128 gigabytes of storage and 4,000 milliamps of battery, which was getting me around 4 to 5 hours of gameplay. The sleep function is okay. I've seen better, so I would recommend turning this off overnight because it does drain battery quite quickly, but what doesn't these days? But what does that mean on paper? Now, I'm just going to cut straight to the chase here. This handheld works in terms of emulation up to and including GameCube games. Anything beyond that, and it starts to slow down. So I'll jump into some GameCube emulation now to show you. So I'll just go straight over to GameCube. So I'm going to load an old save like so, and see for yourself. Oh, just made that one. So you can see the frame rates are pretty strong. They're sitting at like 50 and so on. No real audio glitches. There is a couple of frame rate drops now and then, but 100% playable. This is like, you know, as good as the emulation will get if you want great gameplay. But it's crazy to think that in a $99 handheld, I'm playing Simpsons Hit and Run really well. A couple of years ago, that wouldn't have been a thing. GameCube is where you're going to get your peak performance out of this device. If you go any further, for example, PlayStation 2, things, they don't look good.
Stay off the road!
This is kind of what I get with most PlayStation 2 games. You can tweak some settings and get a little bit like better frame rates out of it, but in all honesty, this is not a PS2 handheld. It's just not powerful enough. You know, your smaller games, maybe like Kingdom Hearts and other fighting games, you'll get much better frame rates out of them, but as you can see here, I've tried tweaking the settings and stuff. I'm just not getting enough out of it, in all honesty. So do not buy this for PS2 emulation. This is just not viable. And actually, you know, you need a bigger screen for that as well. But yeah, not good. If you're a big Sega fan like me, then you will be happy to know that Dreamcast games, perfect.
Attention all units. Suspect seen heading south. Block all major roads and capture the suspect.
Look at the frame rates on this baby. Woo! Yeah! Oh! Oh, damn. See, you get a sense there. Dreamcast, just perfect. Now let's jump into a little bit of PSP. That's probably like the same level as Dreamcast, and again can confirm really good emulation performance on PSP.
Fight!
Jeepers. This is meant to be on easy.
Fight.
Gee, oh wow, I'm getting absolutely smashed. Taking a look at PlayStation 1, again, really, really good. And it's one of the consoles I found myself playing on the most, actually. PlayStation 1, just can't go wrong. And, you know, I'm playing one of the best games ever on PlayStation 1. Rock, baby! Bye! Game Boy Advance and all of your other old consoles, again, this, you know, a potato could run this kind of stuff, but on this little 4x3 screen, it's quite nice. Fills up majority of it, you know? I'm actually really impressed with this handheld. At first you go, okay, here we go. They're trying to kind of, you know, take our money with these small little upgrades, but actually the 2S is one of my favorite handhelds under $100. It runs Android incredibly well, making the setup process near flawless. It runs up to Gamecube Emulation, and many of you will be thinking, Brandon, I don't want to play Gamecube games on a 3.5-inch display. I get it, but actually I enjoyed it a lot. If you want a bigger screen and you want more power to play games, for example PlayStation 2, then I do advise getting a much bigger screen. The biggest competition right now for this is actually the RG405M. This is slightly more powerful, has a much better build quality, a slightly bigger screen for around about $160, $170, but they're two different price ranges. This is $119 or 99 bucks, where this is like $160, $170. But again, this can perform slightly better in terms of PlayStation 2 emulation. So that's what you need to consider. But if your budget is $100, this is the best handheld on the market right now. I'm in love with it. Yes, they could have, you know, made the bezels a little bit smaller, kind of added a bit more of like a firmer grip and a bit better plastic, but they're very minor things. And I'm very impressed with Go Retroid. I didn't think I'd love this as much as I did, but actually this could be one of the best retro handhelds of the year so far, which is saying something. But then again, if you've got a bit more budget and you want a bit better performance, a bit better build quality, the RG405M is the one to go for. There you have it, a brief review of the Retroid Pocket 2S. There is a little bit more detail on our written review on our website, but this is the one to go for. If you're looking for a handheld to treat yourself or your friends with, this is the easy one with good performance and in budget. There are links below if you want to snag them. And as per usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.